time for the final grades of the 2025 NFL Draft. We're going team by team, division by division. We're starting in the NFC North. Some very interesting draft classes for the Bears, Lions, Packers, and Vikings on today's Peacock and Williamson.
NFL analyst Brian Peacock and former NFL scout Matt Williamson bring you expert NFL analysis every day in less than 30 minutes. Get an inside look at the NFL on the field and in the front office with elite breakdowns to next-level analysis and in-depth information only for the real NFL fans. This is Peacock and Williamson, and it starts now.
Welcome to the Peacock and Williamson NFL Show. Brian Peacock alongside Matt Williamson at BD Peacock at Williamson NFL. Thanks, everybody, for making this your first listen on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Love our everydayers. Appreciate you. Thanks for hanging out with us through the draft season. It's not over, though. We got to look back and grade every single pick, every single team's draft class from 2025 as we get ready for the 2025 season. So hang out with us through the whole thing and do it all again next year, right? Every single day. It's what we do. Subscribe on YouTube and everywhere you listen to your podcasts. And today's episode of Peacock and Williamson brought to you by Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K. Turn any TV into your Xbox. No console needed. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to learn more. All right. Alphabetical. We're going with the Bears.
All right.
Here. And Ryan Poles nearly pulled it off. And I thought the Bears were a team that could have moved in the first round, one of the more likely teams to trade. We didn't see that trade at pick number 10. Every other pick that the Bears made in 2025, though, Matt, was not their original selection. So nearly we had a complete draft of non-original picks, but they did stick and pick at number 10. And I got to be honest, even though he's a good prospect and a good player, this is not me hating necessarily on Colston Loveland, the tight end out of Michigan. I just don't see a top 10 prospect there in him, and I know a lot of people did. That was their first round selection, but man, I loved a lot of what they did after that too. So this is going to be a pretty high grade for me. I'll run through it really quick and we'll break down the prospects. Luther Burden, second round, the seventh round in pick number, or the seventh pick in round 2. Luther Burden, wide receiver out of Missouri. They had 3 second round picks. Ozzie Trapillo, Boston College offensive tackle, and then Shamar Stewart rounding out their third pick in round 2, Texas A&M defensive tackle. Then they went with Ruben Hippolyte the second, fantastic name, linebacker out of Maryland. One of those, there's just a ton of those day 3 type linebackers in the really weird linebacker class. Za Frazier, UTSA, Texas San Antonio. We've got a corner there in round 5, round 6, Luke Newman, Michigan State offensive tackle, and then Kyle Monangai, Rutgers running back, to round up the 2025 class for the Bears, 7th round pick there. What are your overall thoughts on this draft class? And really, to me, the second round does all the heavy lifting here for the Bears. And man, I kind of love that second round for the Bears.
Yeah, I like it overall. And some big picture thoughts on it were 2 pass catchers to start. Is that a little more of a luxury than they deserve, than the Bears deserve? Or is it just, putting the head coach stamp on things and how they want to do it, and most importantly, making Caleb Williams' life as easy as possible? So I don't have a problem with it, but it just seems like a little bit of a luxury to go tight end, wide receiver right off the bat.
Yeah, I agree with those. I agree with that thought. New offensive coach comes in and says, I want to do things a certain way, and I think these players will help us do that. For me, the Burden pick is my favorite. I thought.
Oh, I know you love him. Yeah.
I still think Luther Burden's probably the best receiver in this draft. And there's some reasons why he fell to the second round. I think that was more of a pick where it's stupid this guy's still on the board. We're going to draft.
I thought the same.
And by the way, DJ Moore could be gone pretty soon, and then you got a pretty dynamic combo still at wide receiver there long term when you're talking about Odunze and Burden that are really perfectly complementing each other. And Burden's some similarities to DJ Moore, so kind of the understudy to Moore. You can utilize him in the slot, move him around, and who knows, DJ Moore, you could trade him, you could cut him at some point when his contract starts to get a little bit bloated, or you just roll with all 3 and you have a couple of tight ends as well. Cole Kmet's kind of not like, remember that Cole Kmet contract, by the way? I think it was 2 seasons ago now he signed the new contract. He's like, is Cole Kmet that guy? And I think probably the new staff came in and was like, I don't know if Colton Kmet is that guy. It's
I don't think he is. I think he's a below average starter. I mean, he's fine. He's okay, I don't know what DJ Moore's status is, but he isn't young, obviously. Maybe he's a trade deadline candidate if things don't go well. Maybe. I do like some of their picks. I want to go through some of the names for sure. But I also thought, man, I thought they would take advantage of a really deep running back class. And I like Monangai, but he's the 7th round pick. I mean, obviously they didn't get Genty, but that shocked me a little bit. And it shocked me they didn't do more at edge rusher too.
And if I'm not mistaken, did a couple of running backs went earlier than expected right in front? I think, in fact, Henderson was the pick right in front of Luther Burden.
Was he? Okay. Maybe that was the pivot.
So I think they might have gone running back there, but it was a little too early. And look, I think there was tons of value late day 3 at running back. It was a deep class. I mean, that's the right way to play it, man. So I like that. Shamar Turner might be my second favorite pick in this class.
I'm a big fan of that one too, and especially 2 years ago. He is a pain in the butt to play against. And actually so is Trapillo, to be honest with you. Some of these dudes play hard. I like the Turner pick quite a bit. My problem with Ozzie, though, is I really think he profiles to right tackle only. But, and I think right is only a right. You know what I mean?
Right is a right tackle. It says, he's named after his position, right?
Yeah.
And so that is a tough one with Darnell Wright. Does he, Braxton Jones, I think, is the starter now. They drafted Karen Amegaji, by the way, who was kind of a developmental starter. So, they have a lot of options there. So the Trapillo pick,
they'll figure it out.
Get it? It's sometimes, he's 6'8", sometimes a little too tall with some of these guys, and they start to lose leverage a little bit. So
I can't imagine him playing guard.
Between Trapillo, maybe Wright, he played some. I mean, he's a right tackle, though. You're right.
Unless Wright goes to the left, tackle,
is Kieran Amegaji just a kind of a they took a flyer on last year. That's probably not much of a vote of confidence for him that they drafted another tackle that high. That maybe he's just a swing tackle in the NFL. Who knows? But he's got a lot of ability. But it's bad news for Braxton Jones being re-signed. I think he's in the last year of his contract. But who plays left tackle long term is really the question, because they might have a bunch of right tackles.
Because, the interior set. They traded basically for 3 guys on the interior. So I can't see bumping somebody in. Last nuggets, I guess, here is I love the upside of Zaw Frazier. Just length, speed, traits, great. And I know very little about Luke Newman or your boy Hippolyte, to be honest with you. And when he came off the board in the 4th round, I was like, whoa, really?
Yeah, Hippolyte was one of those names. It was a weird weird linebacker class. And then Schlesinger actually kind of went early in that first pick in the 2nd round. And after that, it's like, man, I don't know. There's a lot of day 3 guys, a lot of really small linebackers, 220 pounds. That it's like that used to be a safety, and so our teams really draft those guys that high, and it was just kind of like, I don't know, pick your flavor on day 3, find a linebacker you like, and see if they're more than a special team or more than a backup for you. But Shamar Turner, the way he plays, he explodes off the ball. He's nasty. He's almost a little bit too rowdy at times. He might get some penalties thrown his way, but man. I think there's a lot there, and so I go B+. I think I
like it. I'll follow that up. Yeah, playmakers for a young quarterback.
Yeah, and I'm not going to grade too harshly. I'm not going to grade too easy though either. It could have been an A. I don't love the first pick though, but man, I do like the Burton and the Turner picks for sure for the Bears.
And this will be a theme, and we talked about it yesterday. The problem is there aren't 10 top 10 picks in this draft. You open the show like he's not a top 10 pick. I'm like, yeah, I agree, but I don't know who is.
Yeah, I would probably just gone with the best defensive lineman available. Over time. Is Colston Loveland
or an edge
special at tight end, and like the history of tight. I was thinking back some old drafts, like what happened to like OJ Howard, right? Like what happened to all these tight ends? Like we forget how many bust tight ends there are that are drafted early in the draft. Get yourself a defensive lineman, but they did follow up some really nice picks after that. And look, Colston Loveland could be awesome too. So.
I don't know if Kyle Pitts is out of the woods, and he was supposed to be the best tight end prospect ever,
Right. Yeah. Next, we got the Detroit Lions, Packers, and Vikings. How did they fare in the 2025 NFL Draft next? This episode of Peacock and Williamson is brought to you by Monarch Money. And Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, by the way, because it's a complete financial command center. And some people need it more than others. I know it's been super helpful for me. As you ever check your bank account and you wonder, where'd all that money go? Sometimes spending, you don't really do a good job keeping track. And then when you're dining out and shopping online and entertainment, and maybe there's some reasons to buy gifts, or you're around the holidays, and all of a sudden it's like, man, it's easy to lose track of where all that money goes. And that's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money, start building wealth. And I love the easy collaboration with Monarch Money. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year. Here we go with the Detroit Lions NFL draft class, and it was a really good class, I think, as well. And man, it might only be for a short time, but first round defensive lineman Tyleik Williams, the 28th pick, was the most elite run-stuffing defensive tackle in this class, and they have one of the most elite run-stuffing defensive tackles already in the NFL in DJ Reader. So, who I believe is in the last year of his contract. So it might only be a one-year situation here with those guys all playing together on the same defensive line. But man, that's nasty and that's heavy-handed in the front. They went with Tate Radledge, second round offensive lineman out of Georgia. Isaac Tesla, Arkansas wide receiver in round 3. Then in round 5, Miles Frazier, LSU offensive lineman. Ahmed Hussain, a Boise State edge rusher. Dan Jackson, Georgia safety, back to Georgia again 3 times in this draft. Dominic Lovett, the wide receiver from Georgia, who I did not watch the tape of pre-draft. So I don't know if you did, Matt. Another 7th rounder. So 2 7th rounders from Georgia, a 2nd rounder from Georgia. I do think Dan Jackson was kind of slept on in this class.
Yeah.
He's a guy that's going to stick in the league with the 7th rounder. So I like that. I like Miles Frazier, where they were able to get him, versatile player on the inside. And I think there some injury reasons that he kind of slipped a little bit in the draft. But
short arms, small hand, but that is a little late for him, especially how high all the O linemen went in general.
Tesla tested well.
Yes.
I didn't love the tape though.
No,
that didn't really match the testing. So kind of like meat and potatoes draft here, because the Tyleik Williams, Tate Radledge picks, and you got Frazier, and then you got Dan Jackson. I think those guys are gonna have to do the heavy lifting here.
I don't love it. I mean, I think that the Lions get every benefit of the doubt, and they got a lot of knee biters and tough guys and guards and nose tackles, and I get that, but it just seems a little 1985-ish for me. I think I'd be a C- here. I'm a big Tyleik Williams fan. I strongly considered him for the Steelers. I looked at him a lot. I would say this is a little early for a guy that doesn't yet rush the passer. I think that might be in him, though. But 2 guards that are tough guys, but not phenomenal athletes. And I know Zeitler's gone. They're going to keep that O-line of strength. I understand that. I thought Tesla was way overdrafted, and they trade up for him, for what I remember, too. So meat and potatoes is a nice way of putting it. I think it's a little too much beef. A little more sizzle would be nice,
Did they need that though after some past drafts where they went with a little bit more flash, And so
I get it.
And Levi Onwuzurike is also a free agent, I think, along with DJ Reader next year. So you get in front of that.
Okay.
So you got Alina McNeil, Tyleik Williams inside, Aiden Hutchinson. Yeah, not a lot of juice in the draft, but
not like they had a lot of needs either. They're a good team,
So what's the letter grade here?
I'm a C-.
C-. Okay. I'll go
trading up. I mean, 6th pick in the 3rd round for Tesla. I mean,
yeah, that does get off the rails a little bit. And again, I think we talked about with linebacker too. There were some positions that were super deep. Then there were some positions that just weren't. And some of these 3rd round wide receivers, I mean, these are kind of 5th, 6th round guys. You don't have to draft the guy. You need. That's what free agency is for. If you really need another,
right.
You really work that. And so that's where I kind of, there was plenty of other players at other positions to draft there and to be honest with you, what was really deep in this class is nose tackles. And there was like
right.
still on the
Glad you
board
said that.
in the third round, which would be kind of the reason where it's like, okay, look, first round, let's draft something you can't find in round 3.
I know we both like Tyleik, but to be the first one taking a nose when you can't take advantage of the 4th or 5th round noses is a tough way to build. And Tesla might turn into something, but he isn't yet.
Yeah, and you know, Ratledge, to be honest with you, semi-high in the second round too. You're getting a lot of value in this class, so I can see why you go C-.
There was a huge offensive line draft tax, though. I mean, if you wanted a lineman, you had to overpay. So I mean kind of give teams,
Trapillo in the last for the Bears
exactly.
too. I'd rather have him in the third round, but you got to draft him in the second because
you got to draft him in the second,
especially if you think he can be a starting tackle in the NFL. Forget about the interior guys. If you think look, perfect example. Let's go to the Green Bay Packers next. Anthony Belton, third round guy. You got to take him in the second, man.
You got to take him in the second.
Starting offensive tackle in the NFL. The Packers, though, broke the streak and finally drafted a first-round wide receiver. Matthew Golden out of Texas goes to the Pack in round 1 at pick number 23. They followed it up in the late second round with Anthony Belton, NC State, massive offensive tackle. They went Savion Williams, a fun player. Does he have a position? How do you use him will be the question. Doubling up on wide receiver in round 3. Interesting one there. Baron Sorrell, Texas edge in round 4. Colin Oliver, Oklahoma State linebacker, round 5. In round 6, Warren Brinson, Georgia defensive tackle. Then 2 7th-rounders, Micah Robinson, Tulane corner, and John Williams, Cincinnati offensive tackle, to finish up the 2025 draft for the Green Bay Packers. 2 wide receivers for a team that has a whole bunch of wide receivers.
Yeah.
And that's a kind of a head scratcher for me.
We think Savion Williams a wideout, right?
Yeah, he has to. What else would he do?
I mean, I just think he's Cordell Patterson,
just make him a running
guy. I don't know. I mean, I don't like him. I just think he's good with the ball in his hands, but doesn't run routes or do football stuff. But he's a really good athlete, returner,
You have to force the ball into his hands probably, especially early in the career. And you have a million wide receivers. So how's he even going to get on the field? So I don't know what the utility is going to be. In fact, I wish he would have gone to a different football team because he might have had a chance to see the field. And you have Matthew Golden on top of everybody else. And look, you might not re-sign some guys, and wide receivers do take some time. So this might be more about year 2, 3 with Savion Williams and even Matthew Golden. We'll see how he fights for his spot on the depth chart there. But
I think it's a terrible show. Christian Watson to me is shot.
Just can't stay healthy. You're not going to pay him, right?
Not going to pay him. I think he's going to miss the whole year. He's got one leg's bigger than the other. Like, I don't know. It just seems like he's probably shot. Yeah.
I like Dontavian Wicks, by the way. And then they got Reed in the slot. So, like, they still have guys even without him.
Right. I'm a big Reed fan. I like the Golden pick. I mean, I think at 23, fine. I mean, I think he's not a true number 1, but he could probably be their best guy and make that a good position. Kind of talked about Williams. I don't love him. Belton, considering the cost of O-lineman, I'm cool with it. I mean, he has some warts. He's not he's a heavy-footed guy, but they develop those dudes well, and their O-line is okay. And I didn't really understand the Morgan pick in the first round last year, and I can't say that's paying huge dividends. Thorell, I think, is fine. I like John Williams in the 7th, though. If you talk about maybe you get a value on an O-lineman, which never happens, he's got some ability. Just don't forget about him is all I want to say about him.
Belton will mash you in the run game, though, too.
He will.
He's not the biggest, fleetest foot guy. And usually they err on the side of speed on the offensive line traditionally with the back.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm not sure he's a normal fit for them.
Well, and what's interesting, they signed Aaron Banks to play left guard, but like that's where you drafted Jordan Morgan in the first round last year to play left guard. Right? So I always
feel like this team just drafts linemen and figures out their best 5. Like I don't think they ever like when they drafted Morgan, I'm like, what position is he going to play? I don't know.
And you have Zach Tom and Elton Jenkins.
Yeah.
Anywhere, so they're like, well, we're the last 2 spots we need, right? That's where you guys are going to play.
That's where you're going, or we'll move them, or whatever. So I don't have a problem with the Belton pick. Not my favorite draft though. I would give it a C.
They might be leaning towards maybe. We're seeing some teams do that where they're kind of like, okay, everyone's going small on defense. We're going to go big on offense to push you around a little bit. So Aaron Banks has size and Belton has size. Is that the idea here? Because Zach Tom is sort of like a, almost has a basketball build. He's like slender, thin hipped. So maybe like, okay, we need some size up front. Maybe that's the idea there.
I'm cool with that approach. I mean, it'd be a physical football team, considering the weather, the division you play in. Your back is a power guy. I know they drafted Lloyd last year too, but I'm a little shocked they didn't take a back. And I guess Jari Alexander is going to be a Packer, because a lot of people mocked the corner to them in the first round, and they didn't get one until the 7th.
Yeah, they took a guy in the 7th. He's not going to replace Jair Alexander.
No, right.
Our final grade on the Packers, we'll talk about the Vikings as well to finish up our NFC North draft grades post 2025 NFL draft next. This episode of Peacock Williamson brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. It's NBA playoff time. It's been some fantastic games, and you can get in on that action with FanDuel. And FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on it, because right now, when you join FanDuel and place a $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if that first $5 bet wins. Love how FanDuel makes betting so easy, whether it's just picking your favorite team or maybe diving deep into player props, from 3-pointers to steals to assists. FanDuel has so many ways to bet your favorite player props. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into same-game parlays for a chance to win big. And of course, you can bet on Major League Baseball all summer long. Still ways to bet on the NFL. You're bet on your favorite team to win the Super Bowl. So don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com or download the app and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. That is FanDuel.com. So looking at the final product here of the Packers draft, there's a possibility that they don't get a lot of contributions here, and they drafted backup role players essentially from the 3rd round on. And you'd rather see some guy go on a path to potentially be more than that. I do like Baron Sorrell. I think that's a fine spot to draft him in the 4th round, situational edge rusher. I think they did need to add that. The edge position kind of, if I was to critique the Packers, it was like you maybe need to just, if you're going to draft Savion Williams in the 3rd round again, and to be honest with you, I don't know if they needed to draft 1st round wide receivers, because I think that mid-round, 2nd round, 3rd round, 5th round, that plan has worked for the Packers.
Yeah, there's no superstar, but it's been fine. It's been good.
So draft that edge in the 1st round, and then get your wide receivers later, because it's been working out, especially if you're going to draft Savion Williams in the later rounds. So it's a minor critique. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. It's an odd build.
I think getting Golden at pick 23 is fine. I wasn't as high on Golden as some folks were. I don't think he plays to the 4.29, but he can get open for Jordan Love. Belton, we'll see what he ends up being. Is he too lumbering to be a good pass protecting starting offensive tackle in the NFL? This class could go either way. And some of these other later round picks, 5, 6, 7 rounds, 5, 6, 7. Are they going to contribute special teams? What kind of value are they going to give you? So it's kind of just like B-, C+ ish draft for me. I feel kind of similar. I go C+, kind of similar to the Lions draft here.
Yeah, I'm going to give them a C as well. But I gave the Lions a C-, so I think they're about equal. I'm going to be nice to the Lions, move them up to a C, and the Packers, I'm going to give them a C. Their first 2 picks, I think, will be very useful. I think that is a good question if receiver's the right move in round 1. 3 through 7, I'm not real blown away with, though.
We talked about the Minnesota Vikings after round 1, and this might not be that long because it's not a big draft class to talk about. And to be honest with you, it's not a exciting draft class for the Minnesota Vikings here. The 2 picks following the Vikings pick at 24 in round 1 were traded, and I think the Vikings were the team that needed to trade out the most, and were one of the most likely to trade out. And then you see that they drafted a guard at pick 24 in round 1. Good player, Donovan Jackson. But I want to pause on that first pick, because actually we'll talk about the whole draft here, and I'll lay them out and then we'll talk about it. So they didn't have a pick in round 2. They only had 4 picks in this draft. They did end up adding 1 more pick. So 3rd round, late 3rd round, comp area of round 3, Ty Felton, Maryland wide receiver. Then they drafted then it skipped another round. And then round 5, Tyrion Ingram Dawkins, edge rusher out of Georgia. Round 6, Kobe King, linebacker out of Penn State. Then Gavin Bartholomew, a Pittsburgh tight end. You might have some info on him locally there, Matt, in the 6th round. So 5-man draft class for the Minnesota Vikings. And so Kwesi, the GM for the Minnesota Vikings, and I need to pull this up because I've got the exact quote here, was asked about what they did in the draft and maybe if they had an opportunity to trade down. And I'm pulling it up because I want to get the quote correct from Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah. And so asked if they attempted to trade down at all and accumulate more than the 4 picks that they started with in the draft. And he used a golf analogy talking about being somewhat risk averse in the draft, which was kind of interesting. Here was his full answer. Quote, I was a golfer in high school. I was okay. Wasn't great. But when you start to get good at golf is when you start removing the triple bogeys from your round, the double bogeys. How do you do that? You hit one in the rough. You don't take your 3-wood out and start hacking away. Maybe you take your 7-iron, get it back in play, and then get a 50-yard short chip to get up and down for bogey, worst case. And so to me, I think approaching this draft from a mindset of, hey, let's just, if the play is to hit the ball down the fairway, let's do that. If it's going to be 4 picks at 4 positions that we really want, 4 great character people, 4 skill sets we require, let's go do that and we'll figure out everything else. That's the mindset we've tried to approach and take. Whether other things happen later down the line, we've kind of just gone from whatever the course is kind of asking us to hit. We're going to hit that club out of the bag and see what happens.
Okay. I mean, I think that applies to Donovan Jackson.
It's definitely hitting it in the fairway.
Yeah.
But
every player is a risk, and not like these are all sure things.
But trading down is just giving you like free mulligans, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. More swings. Right.
Why would you be trying to hit a bogey? You know what I mean? Like
it's a bad analogy. You're right.
Yeah. It's
a bad analogy. Yeah.
And it's like, you just took a guard anyway. You know, I get it. If there was like some phenomenal prospect that fell to you, it's like, you just got to take this player. But the way he's explaining it is like, let's not take free value. Like, I think trading down is the most hit the ball in the fairway move you can make in the draft. So he's
100% right.
If we trade down, we're not going to be able to draft a guard. Like, what are you doing? What do you what tier of prospect are you trading out of? Right. And then you look in the second round and look at some talent that was still on the board. Like, I'm not buying it, Kwesi. Doesn't even make sense with the golf part of it to me. Because it's not safer to just stick and pick than it is to trade down either. And you actually could go big and you could play it safe at the same time if you trade down. Trading up would be the one where you're trying to hack it out of the fairway and make up for past mistakes. So I don't buy it. I think it's insane if they were turning down.
He really was bad at golf in high school.
Now we know why he was bad. Yeah.
Right. I don't think you see the game quite right. Stick with football,
anyway,
you know.
This is an F class.
Can
we not go Fs? Maybe a D.
A D, I guess. I mean, like I'm going to grade these on. If you have 100 first-round picks, that doesn't mean you get an A. You know, I mean, it's kind of like what cards you're dealt. But I do think he's a bit of a weird drafter. Like, very few day 2 picks since he's been the Vikings GM. And I know McCarthy has a lot to do with that. Fine. But they traded up for an edge guy last year. Jackson, to me, is a very safe pick in a draft that is taxing O-linemen. And it kind of completes your offense to me. I mean, they signed 2 offensive linemen, a guard and a center. I think this is the last remaining hole on the offense. And I said this yesterday. This draft screams to me, Coach Flores, you're really good at your job. We're not going to give you many ingredients. Just blitz like crazy and you'll figure it out, because there's not really any defensive help here at all. Although I do think Ingram Dawkins could be a versatile, interesting, athletic player.
And here's the thing. If you did hit it down the fairway with Donovan Jackson with your first pick, did you get on the green and hit your putt with any of the next 4 picks? Like, maybe
Elton in the 3rd seemed early. I thought he was a nice 5th rounder.
Wide receiver. The teams were forcing wide receivers. This is another reason why I guess it's probably an argument for why the Packers should take Golden in the first round, because it wasn't a deep class of wide receivers, and it's better than forcing a 5th or 6th round prospect at wide receiver because you need one. I don't know. I hate this draft.
Yeah, and they didn't have many picks, and I knew it wasn't going to be a great draft, but the logic behind it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Who's a value? Who's an impact guy? I don't think you're going to get a whole lot out of this draft when we look back in 5 years.
Yeah, I see. And so, again, I don't buy it. It's a huge mistake not taking the opportunity to trade down. So that's immediately. I'm just skeptical. Like I'm side-eyeing Kwesi and like, dude, are you really the man? Like if I like legitimately that's just straight up bad process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is it safe to say Bears are 1, Vikings are 4?
Oh, easily. There's a massive, and I think it's a tier between the Bears draft and the other 2 drafts, and then a big tier between those 2 drafts with the Packers and the Vikings and the Minnesota Vikings.
Yep. Before we got here, real quick, any Kittle thoughts?
Should retire a 49er. Like there's, you just hope that you can find a player like that who plays as hard as he does, who is maybe the most underrated player in the NFL because of the value he gives your team as a run blocker and a pass catcher. Great locker room guy, deserves to be the highest paid tight end in the NFL. Mm-hmm. And I kind of knew it was going to happen. And he's one of those players where it's like, look, you hope the way he plays, he puts his body through a lot. So you hope he can play for a long time and play through this contract. But he's a guy, and tight end money is still like the best money. He's the highest paid tight end in the NFL. What's he making? $20 million a year? Right. That's not even top 10 for wide receivers.
Look at the $20 million receivers. He's way more valuable than those guys. Right.
By far. So you can't overspend if you have a superstar tight end, I think. And so there you go.
You beat me to it. I mean, I think he's one of the most underrated players in the league. I think he has been for a long time. And frankly, I think he's one of the more underrated tight ends ever. I mean, probably because he played next to Kelsey era. I think he's a top 5 tight end for sure, maybe 2 or 3. I mean, like he's been ridiculous career.
And I blame Kyle Shanahan. He's underutilized.
A little bit, right.
He's getting 12 targets a game.
Yeah. But when we look back, he's an easy first ballot Hall of Famer. And I don't know if people look at him in that light that he should.
Thanks, everybody, for making this your first listen here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. We're going through the rest of the divisions team by team. We will mention every draft pick and grade every team's 2025 NFL draft. So stick with us here and subscribe on YouTube and everywhere you get your podcast. Matt and I back tomorrow right here. Peacock and Williamson.